My name is Jamie Daugaard. I'm the principal of Center Sky Architecture located here in Big Sky, Montana. When someone walks into our home for the first time, sometimes it's been told to me by a client a long time ago is that first kiss. That is one of the things that we want to just gather that emotion of just like, I haven't seen this. This feels good. I mean, it feels really good. And just want to immerse themselves and walk into that space. That is something that makes us feel really good about this is definitely a one-off. There's been a lot of thought between not only architect, but interior designer, general contractor, and owner. And we want that all wrapped in where people are just walking in and going, I want more of this. What we start with is reviewing the site. The site is very important of just going through, walking the site, understanding view corridors, and starting to really, push things, start to look at that floor plan, but going in 3D. We work in 3D heavily with our firm. We'll still be doing hand sketches. We'll be working in computer renderings. So all of those you will start to see within 4 to 8 weeks once we start on a project. And the neat thing about that is the graphics you start to see from our firm early on, you will start to make decisions pretty quickly, not only on black and white types of drawings, but now with color. And that love affair starts to kick in of the design intent that they're seeing and going, okay, let's keep on going. We understand we've got budgets, but we're liking where we're translating, into the aesthetics of what you're presenting. Kitchen, dining room, great room, master, how many bedrooms, how many size of garage, starting to go with that, starting to lay out the floor plan. We start to work off of that, and then as we'll go through, as in details, we'll go through sketching and just doing layouts further and further. We really try to be boutique architecture in regards to the site and the program, and then also discussions with the client. To bring the exterior in is always important with the Mountain Modern. When people invest in a lot, it will usually be where they bought it because of the view corridors, a mountain peak, the forest, a stream, water element. And now how do we gather that, collect that for outdoor living, for common spaces, for bedrooms, to be able to experience that? Design philosophy on this project, when we walked the site, this was going to be Mountain Modern, and it was going to be Mountain Modern 2.0. A lot of Mountain Modern for me, we have monoslopes, steel, and glass. But on this project, there is more or less the stagger and terracing that we're doing. We're also working on roof lines, flat roofs, complex low slope roofs as well that we worked with Cornerstone Management on. So there was a number of elements with the structural expression of the roof that we really were pushing on. They're great educators in regards to snow, water, what that wants to do to a roof, how do we want to flow that, how do we want to look at the assembly of the roof, the different types of drainage planes. So first off, before you even get to anything that you see out in the field, they're going through with you on those. They'll do studies with us in regards to the cold roof and where ice dams may occur. So there's a lot of science and science built up for the past 25 years with Cornerstone Management. The wine room was one of the big things that we were just saying it needed to happen. It was going to be a part of the common space, but how? How was it going to be there where it can be a part of the aesthetic value, seeing bottles, lights, grazing down those walls, getting into claddings, how the glass was going to be interactive between, the common spaces and the wine room was still as we were working it out. But eventually it started to work out as we were looking at interstitial spaces, spaces that connect from one to the next, sort of that connective tissue, if you will. That's where the wine room started to fill in, where we had this space that was off of our sitting room, great room. And we started to go, you know what? Let's start looking at this here. But then that's where interior designer with the Varda group started to look at, what if we did some, aesthetic lit up wall on the backside that lit up the bottles, but also had an artistic value in a subtle way. And that's where Varda Group did a great job with their, artistic, lighting element that they put on that wall to be a subtle art piece, for the common spaces. With Sandy from Lake Glass, it's all just glass. There's no trim around it, no framework or whatever. So it's countertop and then glass, or the charcoal quartzite stone and glass, and then the wine room. So it almost makes it look like there's no glass, and the wine room is right there starting to pour into the common spaces. As we started to work on the master and junior suite wing, that's where it really became pretty exciting, is, where we had the great room and formal entry, but then we started to stagger back those spaces. Junior suite was out a little bit further, and then we had the master suite wing that steps back further, but allowed two walls to be glass in both of those spaces by doing that. So we did terracing and we did staggering for that wing to give just more availability with views and solar. It started with two words from the owner: badass. That's how it had to be. And so he wanted that in regards to how he experienced this home. And so that also went with the lower level. And so, yes, as we started to go through it, starting to get this main level plate done, right? And then start to work that lower level. And as we did that, we were already starting to get materials that we were liking: the black basalt rock, the charcoal rock that we were using for our veneers, the woods that we were starting to use, starts to pour down to that lower level. One of the big changes we did was we really like concrete floors, and so we did that for the lower level. Everything has in-floor heat, so it has a nice warmth to it, but also that's one of the elements that we started to bring with that lower level. Those long sweeping stretching elements we like to do, that's where the fireplace came in. Could have been real close to the wall, but we wanted it more centrally located, so we stretched it another 24 feet and then had that elongated linear gas fireplace where it's in the center between the game room, pool area, bar area, and living room.
This home really makes it special for myself, but also Teton Heritage Builders. One of the big things about craftsmen, specifically in this region, is that they have an entrepreneur spirit. And even though we don't have a huge population of people, we have a small population of people with a lot of craftsmanship, right? A lot of traditions being passed down, a lot of timber work, a lot of masonry, concrete work, excavation, all these things that are just kind of passed down through generations. And that's what makes this region so special. This is a giant steel box. The structure of it called for it. The way that it was going to be built, all the clean lines. And not only that, the client really wanted to have the biggest cantilever roof in the area, right? So the only way to do that is with structural steel. As we integrated that structural steel, into the actual building, we actually made it a feature of the home. Montana Steel Industries. They've been great partners to us. We've worked with them on a lot of projects. They also did the ornamental steel pieces that you see, like all the handrails, the stair system, any spike lumineers, anything else that you see. Diamond spas are just always a pleasure to work with, and installation process is seamless. They have a really high-end product that a lot of our clients frankly look for. It really turned out great. Our stone vendor was Ruiz Masonry, and they really killed it with the stone. I mean, this house wouldn't be the house that it is without the stone. We're doing things that are really pushing the envelope. It's hard to really know what's there in the future, right? There's no question in my mind that architects like Jamie Daugaard aren't going to keep pushing that envelope. The future is bright. The future is exciting.